Hello everyone and welcome. Round 6 is about to get underway here from Budapest at the Hungarian and, well, Budapest meaning the city of Baths. We might be trying to avoid some rain showers here today. We'll get the weather report for you here shortly. 35 laps is what it'll be around this 14-turn, 2.72 mile circuit. It features 2 DRS zones down the main straight, and you get a little extra boost out of turn 1 as well. Where down the main straight you could see speeds up to 208 miles an hour. And into that turn 1 where it's always crowded, especially on the first lap, could see 4 wide heading through there. In turn 2 you can take the wide line and get the traction, or you can take the narrow line and get the racing line. Whichever way you do it, you can get past there. Turn 12 dives down to the inside. How many drivers will want to risk maybe their front wing on a little move into the third sector? It's the C1, the C2, and the C3. The softs are actually proving a bit too soft for the track here this afternoon, so it should be a medium to hard strategy. The mediums 0.7 of a second slower than the soft tires, and the hards 0.5 slower than the mediums. And of course, the wet weather tires will be on standby at the ready, because here in Hungary you have no idea what the weather might be able to do. For the first time this season, we have a new leader in the Drivers' Championship. James F1, the Renault, or the Racing Point, leading the Renault driver DJ Danny and DXT Miles by 1 point, 47 points to 46 points for the two of them. Down below them, the constructors starting to become a bit more clear, but there is much more scrapping to be done. Racing Point ahead 10 points over Alfa Romeo, and Renault, continuing their poor form, have slid all the way down to 4th behind Red Bull. Kendo, it's going to be hot. It could be wet, but we're about to get the second half of the season underway.
100%, and the fact that it's unreal, the fact that James F1 is now leading your driver standards, because as we talked about at the start of the season, DJ Danny, he was renowned as being the person that would dominate, but it's going to show that patience and keeping it on the track and being consistent, that is the key to winning races and leading the championship, as James F1 is doing along with his teammates Sir Sharks. You can clearly see that they have been working together, being able to battle themselves through the constructors, and let's see if the rest of the field take note and be able to pull themselves back into that constructor battle, because it's going to be quite tasty if the drivers can keep it together on track and work together.
Well, the interesting thing to note is among those in the top 4, James F1 is the only one that doesn't have a victory. HK has a win, yeah. Miles has a win, Danny has a win, but James has 3 podiums, but yet has still found a way to finish in the top 5 nearly every single race.
Yeah, exactly.
And that sees him in first.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you've got to do. It's got to be consistent driving. You don't have to be in the lead all the time. You've just got to keep it on track, keep your nose clean, be able to push through the pain sometimes, because some tracks you will not like, but you've got to push through. And that looks like what happened as if I quickly have a look at the standings, James didn't have the best of races. He got 5 points in Abu Dhabi, and then he got 8 points in Spain, but in Belgium, Germany and Brazil he got on the podium. So it goes to show that when you look at the difference between that and DJ Danny DNFing, Miles DNFing, and HK got no points last week, it makes all the difference. Consistency wins championships.
Well, the man who's first in the championship is also the man who's first out onto the track on the white striped hard tires. Kendo, take us for a lap around the Hungarian.
Yeah, quickly jump on board with him. So, as we are making our way through the first lap, DRS has been activated. Now, some drivers like to use a little bit of engine braking, but James F1 decided not to do that. He gets quite a nice exit out of turn 1, and there goes that engine braking. Gets a nice launch, could go a little bit further to the left to get a much better launch, so there's still time to find. His back end slightly slides out. So far so good. A few little things in his army that he can improve on. Mizes is lovely traction on the car. As you can see, as he's going through these turns, he's having to focus on that ERS at the same time. So you can see him laying about on his gear stick, and unfortunately, as you can clearly see, he has just invalidated, unfortunately. But it goes to show he has time to find, and that's the most important thing. You know where your mistakes are and how to improve on them, and that is the key.
The other thing is that essentially it's just to go out and get a feel on the track. We don't typically see many going out on the hards, and speaking of those going out on the hards, it's actually Murphy and Mats, the Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes, have gone on to the softs, as have Ferramoto and Farfu, who is stepping in the Haas tonight. I don't know, Kendo, how long those softs are going to last. Farfu's setting a 1:16.8 on the softs, so is this just I would assume it's just a track position battle at the moment, because it doesn't seem like the softs are going to go on very quickly. Ooh, we have a retirement already.
Yes, we do. Basically, what was happening, he's going up the sweeping left-hander up at the top. He just completely got
lost another one through there too.
And as you can probably see, and he's looks like PJ has just got a little bit spooked seeing the car of James F1, and unfortunately he's been disqualified. He hasn't been able to get himself round and reset in time, so unfortunately that is his qualifying done.
That would be disastrous for a McLaren team that is never really got started this season. It's not what you wanted to see. Nobody wants to see disqualifications for potentially something they couldn't really do much about, but we're on board with Jamie 29's teammate, who's going to actually pull into the pit lane and abandon his lap. The next closest lap time is actually Ryan 97, who's on the hard, stepping in as well. So both Haas's actually tonight with replacement drivers for the night. You can just see kind of the difference between the softs and the hards. About 0.8 of a second difference between the two.
Definitely, and that's the difference. But the precious point about it, as you rightly mentioned moments ago about track position, it's all about having that fine balance of being able to be fast on the track at the start, but being able to position yourself right in the correctly in the race. If you can't make them soft tyres last, it's going to be a lot of pain for you in the middle to end of your race, because you have to be able to manage your tyres all the way to the end, which is why I'll fully expect a lot of these people that are out on track now, yes, for setting a banker lap on the hards, but I will fully expect a lot of medium track runners out on track coming up to the last few minutes of the race, this qualifying.
Well, in terms of track position, I mean, Kendo, how hard is it to pass around the Hungarian, because it's not a typical track that has a lot of those clear overtaking opportunities like you might see at Monza, where we head to next week, where almost every single corner is an overtaking opportunity. That's not really the case here, is it? Yeah,
exactly. There are opportunities for the drivers to be able to, in a sense, position themselves, the person getting to where they need to be, and that will allow yourself to be able to push the driver out of position and be able to sweep in. So yes, you're right, there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities, but it's making the driver think you're going to put yourself into an overtaking position. As we mentioned last week, mind games are a big thing in F1.
Well, Murphy, one of the first out on those medium tires. Looks like he's just kind of setting in a lap to rubber in the track ever so slightly as we approach the 10-minute mark in this qualifying session. Actually, Rymac is out on the mediums as well in the Renault, and we talked about Renault. Kendo, it has not been a great 2 or 3 weeks here. Well, really for Rymac the entire season. For Renault specifically in the past couple of weeks, even though DJ Danny had himself a good run in Brazil, getting back on the podium, sliding all the way down from 4th.
Yeah, exactly. Considering you're talking about Rymac, because as one board with him at the moment, currently in the standings, he's all the way down in 10th place. He's had 2 DNFs, and he's got a grand total of 9 points out of the races. We know he's a good, consistent driver, considering we've seen his pace on the PlayStation side. However, he just, for whatever reason, hasn't been able to transfer that skill or pace, shall we say, onto the Xbox for whatever reason that is. It's a case of hopefully tonight he can put that right here, right now.
In the Mercedes, the only one left in the qualifying session on the softs, is going to jump up 2 seconds. So see the power that the softs have over the hards, but Kendo, that's only a lap that's 4/10 faster than DJ Danny did hit on some relatively used hard tires. I mean,
scary.
Could we see here in a minute those guys running at the top on the hard tires actually shift onto the mediums and just absolutely blow past these guys?
Yeah, and just like what I was saying before, I fully expect within more than likely the main drivers will look to go out roughly within the 3-minute time. As some people like to do it as far as 2.5 minutes, but again, it's making sure that you have that much gap and turn yourself around, because bear in mind you've got to avoid all the traffic that people are doing their qualifying laps within that time. Find that right balance, because that's why usually for me I'd expect to see a lot of drivers coming out at 3 minutes.
As well in the Williams, he's some might tell you that he's overperformed this season, but he's actually done a great job in the Williams on the softs. And again, another situation where Fermoto might just be trying to get ahead of everybody he's battling with. He knows he's not going to be at the field standing on top of the podium, but he's going to be trying to points place and just get as many points as possible for Williams here heading forward.
Yeah, because you mentioned about Williams, they are currently P8. The point they only gained was actually in Belgium, which was a couple of races ago. But let's that they can actually push themselves up into the stand and potentially get themselves a little bit of motivation, considering it's the second half. Clean slate. But that's what we'll be thinking. Let's get the second half off on a high note.
Farfu, who we're on board with now, setting another lap on the softs, showing no intention to relinquish that pole position. He looks like he's going to abandon that lap now. He might actually just be trying to get another feel for the track, and seeing that he's on the softs, he might try to set a faster time on the mediums just due to track evolution. Let's see who we can jump on board with. There's a Toro Rosso about to cross the line. That's the wrong Toro Rosso. I believe it's Maniac, who's come across the line. He hasn't set himself a time yet. He's actually starting his lap now. As things stand, there's a few interesting decisions being made up in the top 5 at the moment. You have Annie, who's fitted the soft tires, hasn't left the pit lane yet. You wonder if that might be some more of those mind games that we we talked about last week. First and second, the entire front row right now on the soft tires. I don't think we certainly didn't expect to see much of the soft kendo, but here we are. 4 drivers having them fitted. DJ Danny is going out on those soft tires. Can we see another stop strategy like we did last week, where he just kind of slams on the brakes before the line to make sure he doesn't set that lap.
Yeah, I'm very surprised with DJ Danny, considering we see the pace that he set on them hard tyres. I was fully expecting for him to go out on them mediums, but as you can clearly tell, he is out on his outlap. So it's a case of potentially he's thinking track position, as we talked about at the start. Not a lot of overtaking positions. Potentially he doesn't like to attack. And again, that's all about the driver style, the driver mentality. He'd rather be out in front, keeping his nose out of trouble, and taking care of the race from the front instead of being pressured to try and push somebody into a mistake. He prefers to be the one with the pressure on his shoulders.
Well, as we're under 5 minutes to go, Kendo, his teammate as well, Rimac, also out on the soft tires. You wonder if this is just a strategy from Renault to touch as high up the field as they can.
Yeah.
And this just becomes potentially a strategy game at this point.
It is, considering, like we mentioned before, they have to do something different. We are currently in P4 in the championship. Obviously, they've talked about this beforehand. Obviously, they must have, if they're both going out on the soft at the same time. Well, Rymac's still in the pit, I should say. But it looks like they are both going to be on the soft.
He's just peeled into the pit.
Yeah. So it's a case of, will that strategy pay off? Because bear in mind, if they are really close together on track, that could be a question of the strategy. Can they double stack at the right time? Or if they've got a nice, decent enough gap, then potentially that strategy can work pitting at the same time.
You can see there DJ Danny running ever so slightly wide, but his lap stays intact. He holds it together there, doing extremely well, setting a fastest middle sector in the process. Current pole says the man on provisional pole, Matt Swainus in the Mercedes, who we've seen, Kendo, a few times this season, set extremely good one-lap pace. Is now DJ Danny diving into the pit lane, and you wonder if that might be the call for Renault. Right, let's head on to the mediums and not do anything too outlandish here.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting that to happen. However, we've just seen Rimac, his teammate, on my screen. They have just come out on the soft tyre. Rimac has, so that's definitely something interesting there. They're doing alternate strategy. Yeah, very surprised about that. But again, track position, Rimac has got to do something different. He's got to get himself up there. He's currently in P10 in the standings. He needs to try and get that track position.
We're on board with Fairfu right now on the softs as well. He's sitting third at the moment, running extremely wide. I wonder if he's just going to invalidate that lap and peel into the pit lane. Kendo, I don't think he has time to go into the pits, get a change of tires, and head back out onto the track. There's just, we're hitting the 2-minute mark now. I don't think there's going to be enough time for that.
No. It's very, very unlikely. If you're going to go out, you need to be pressing the button at least now and rush yourself around, but that doesn't help with your tyre management, your tyre degradation. As we are seeing, well, as I'm seeing, DJ Danny has now just left the pit. Just to update you guys, because I know you're on board with Fairfu, as he just dives into the pit. But Danny is on the mediums, so just as I thought he might do. So let's see what he can do on his out lap and hot lap.
Well, we just watched DXT League cross the line and go, what was for a minute there, 5th fastest, now 6th fastest. HRC retiring in the pit lane. His session is done. We're approaching a minute to go, and James F1 has also retired in the pit lane. So an interesting call with a minute to go here. The Racing Point not to go back out onto the track. You see his teammate Sir Sharks has jumped into that 5th position. HK, who is carrying a 1-position race penalty, so mathematically he cannot win this race. He can only finish as high as 2nd. If he wins it by a minute, he will still be classified as finishing 2nd. So what was a bad start for Red Bull turned into a great run of form, and now starting the 2nd half of the season, it hasn't gotten much better. Under 30 seconds to go now. We're on board with DXT Miles, who's going to start his flying lap on the mediums. Look at the man who is a point behind in the championship, trying to catch James F1 qualifying ahead of him. Would be a great start. Final seconds of qualifying have ticked down and ticked away. So far, it is Massuenas on pole position. Miles has about 1.5 seconds to make up on his previous lap if he wants to even. Oh, and he's lost the car. He's invalidated the lap, and it's a horrendous qualifying from DXT Miles, who would have certainly have hoped to get higher up in the grid, but he will be starting well outside of the top 10. That potentially play into his advantage. Sir Sharks running extremely wide, somehow keeping that lap intact. He heads into the heart of the final sector now. This elongated left-hand turn. Head back down. Rimac couldn't even set a time. He joins Jamie in that category. Ryan 97 on the softs going provisional pole. He doesn't have too many that can beat him. The man who is stepping in this weekend for Scar Tricks is on pole position. Massuenas, he will elect to abandon this lap, and it looks like that will be how things end, unless DJ Danny has anything to say about it. He only goes 13th fastest. And Kendo, I think it's safe to say we have plenty of drivers well out of position here today.
Yeah, while you were watching Sir Sharks there, I was just monitoring how DJ Danny was doing. He had a very sloppy lap, to be honest with you, which was very surprising. The long sweeping right-hander got too deep on the right-hand side of the curb and completely nearly went into the wall there. He had a nice turn in the little S's, but out of it, there was quite a lot of mistakes, and that's why he's paid the price and he's down in P13. But there's a lot of other drivers there as well, so he's not alone with making a few mistakes at the end of the qualifying.
Well, it's a first front row start for not only Ryan 97, who making his IRL debut takes pole position, but it's the first front row for Mercedes this season. Max, the two of them starting on the soft tires. HK and Liverpool Ewan will start on the mediums. They start 3rd and 4th. Sir Sharks behind them in the Racing Point starts 5th. He has the McLaren of HRC for company. DXT Lee in the Red Bull as well will start on the mediums down in 7th. Farfu in the Haas will start on the softs. He couldn't set another lap. He's stuck on the soft tires. And James F1, our new championship leader, starting on the mediums. He has Murphy for company in the Alfa Romeo to round out the top 10. Maniac and Leclerc start 11th and 12th. DJ Danny all the way down in 13th. He'll have Ricardo for company in 14th. Leclerc and DXT Miles will start 15th and 16th. Fairmoto and Rimac will share the second to last row. And the two drivers that either couldn't complete a lap and one got disqualified. Jamie 29 starting 19th, polar opposite of where his teammate will start. And PJ, who unfortunately got disqualified, will be starting 20th and last. But it's extremely safe to say that we have plenty of drivers out of position, and it is only going to lead for absolute chaos.
Yeah, All I'm going to say, it's going to be an interesting one. I'll put it politely on that one. Considering you've got the fact that HK is in third position currently as it stands there. So he has currently the advantage on his nearest rival. So you've got James F1 that is currently leading the drivers' standings. He's all the way in the P9 at the moment. DJ Danny's in 13. And he is second. Miles, he's down in 16. So again, 3 of the 4 at the top of the drivers' standings, well out of position. So it's going to be absolute chaos for them to try and battle through the pack. Can they do it?
Well,
We'll find out.
not only are the drivers adding to the entertainment, but Mother Nature might have something to say about this, if she will. Here reports in about 45 minutes, rain will be on the way. We have the race done by then, we're not too sure, but it could definitely spice up the end of this race as the drivers around on the formation lap. Ryan leading them around in pretty decent. He's got a lot of pace in that Haas around this formation lap. He hasn't really done himself any favors by not bunching up the pack. He's doing his best to get his brakes warm, his tires warm and all rubbed in. Trying to keep the engine cool, which sounds a little bit contradictory, but it's the job that's placed on the drivers here this afternoon. They form up on the grid. Front two, starting on the softs. The only other person who is doing so, Fairfood, who is stuck on those, down in 8th place. They have a slightly bit more of an advantage off the line. But he does have quite a bit of traffic in front of him. This final kart making his way onto the grid. It was a fantastic and action-packed first half of the season here in Hungary. We kick off the second half, and it is underway. We are racing here at the Hungaroring. Everyone gets away pretty well, but Matt's falling down the field already. HK looks to go around his outside. Ryan already commanding into the lead and around the outside. HK trying to get that move done. Matt's showing him off. Sir Sharks already up into 4th place. Liverpool Ewan losing a place there in the process. James F1 has made up a place as well. Miles has already made up 2 places, now 3 places down into 14th position as they all go single files. You can see just a little bit Renault squirming at the back. Rimac has fallen down into 19th place, and Ryan has almost already gained a 1-second advantage over Matt. And oh, do we have a collision? It looks like Fairfood may be off there, and there is certainly debris. He's lost plenty of his front wing. No safety car required on that occasion. Jamie 29 starting down in 19th, already up into 17th. I think that 18th now as Rimac overtakes him. They are certainly scrapping there at the back, but here at the front, as they come around the final corner, Ryan leads from Matt, from HK, from Sharks, from Liverpool U, and Ryan setting the fastest lap so far. They all file in. Kendo, quite a chaotic start already as Fairfield into the pit lane, surely to repair that damaged wing.
Yeah, I had a quick look at Fairfield's car. He had the front left end plate taken off, so for sure he'll be trying to go on to the hard type. Oh, I would say hard type, but looks like he's actually going on the medium. So obviously he wants to try and go a little bit into the race, but not all the way.
And Leclerc has also had himself to spin. He was dealing with Rimac there for a minute. Ricardo now losing out as well, so the Ferrari's not off to the greatest of starts here this afternoon as Sir Sharks falling down the field. What has happened to Sir Sharks? He's spun around. He's facing the wrong direction. Does he have a bit of wing missing? It certainly looks like he does. He's trying to stay out of everyone's way, as he rightly should, all the way down into 19th place. No safety car needed for that one. And what was not a great qualifying for Racing Point has turned already into not the best race.
No, once again, it's that front left end plate that's come away from Sir Sharks, and at this point in time, as you can see, DRS has been able, looks like Leclerc's been caught up in whatever's been going on, because he's also pitting just ahead of Sir Sharks. So obviously, as you can see, a few people have to make an early pit stop due to wing damage.
Here is a battle that we've seen a few times this season. James F1 and DXT Lee. Looks like they're about to be scrapping for position, but DJ Danny, starting in 13th, has already gained 4 positions up into the points for the Renault. He's going to be up to his teammate as well to try to get in and help out the team. If only he could help out his driver as well. James all over the back of the Red Bull, who rightfully is also all over the back of the Toro Rosso in front of them. All 3 of these drivers scrapping for 4th place, and it looks like HRC wants to get involved as well in that McLaren. They go one by one through the penultimate corner as they make this left-hand turn and onto the main straight once more. HK setting the new fastest lap. 1:20.777 is now DRS open. DXT Lee trying to go around the outside. He's still on the outside. Liverpool Ewan doing a great job to hold that line, but he's going to be under attack here yet again. Actually, HRC has gotten James F1 to the Racing Points. It's just having an extremely poor start, but on the flip side of things, the Alfa Romeos up into 8th and 10th position for them. Both their drivers up into the points as things stand, as the McLaren looks to have a little look down the inside of the Red Bull. Great driving for the 2 of them to not make contact. They are battling tooth and nail for these minor points positions. This isn't even for the podium, Kendo. This is lap 4 of 35. We have plenty to go. It takes each other out. We've seen a few spinners already. Fairfoot, Leclerc, and Sir Sharks have all been facing the wrong way at some point in this race already. 4 laps in. And you can see them on the map there, just trailing extremely far back from the pack. Looks like Liverpool Ewan has actually been able to gain a little bit of time on his sister team behind him. How much power does that Toro Rosso have in it? Pulling out wide, trying to hold that inside line. It's James F1 who looks to go around the outside. It's HK who's gone into 2nd. DXT Lee who's trying to take 4th. Movement all over the track. Fairmoto up into 11th. You can see now squeezing into the outside. It is great defensive driving for Liverpool Ewan. They might have touched wheels ever so slightly. You can see McLaren running wide in the background. But now DXT Lee has that 4th position. With all that battling, and seeing him about 3 seconds adrift from the Mercedes in front of them. HK also himself now has about 2 seconds to gain on Ryan if he wants to try to keep 2nd place in this race. Remember, he has that 1 place grid penalty, so he will, even if he pulls into 1st place, he will be classified as finishing 2nd. This tandem here of Lee, Ewan, James F1, and HRC is inviting Murphy and Danny in battle. James F1 hitting the best so far of the Toro Rosso. How can he hang around the outside that has quickly become the inside? Kendo, it does not look like any of these drivers are giving any quarter at all to each other.
No, and this is brilliant to watch. The fact that the defense and attack from all sets of drivers that we are currently watching at the moment, it just goes to show this is what we come to see. This is league racing currently at its best. Drivers battling all, using all of the track, and as we talked, it was funny we talked about there wasn't going to be much overtaking, but so far plenty overtaking here today.
Well, DJ Danny has worked himself all the way up into 8th place. He's just past Murphy now. The Alfa Romeo's down in 9th and 10th. It looks like Murphy trying to go around the outside has to take to the escape road to just stay on the track. You wonder now if he might let his teammate Miles past, who's worked himself all the way up from 16th position up into 10th, gaining 6 places in as many laps. With DJ Danny up into 8th place, he is now going to be starting the hunt. As you can see, the switch there. Rymac's out. Rimac is out. The safety car isn't out yet. The virtual safety car has been deployed. And that will give those on the softs. Yep, you can see there Ryan and Matt are going to use this opportunity to peel into the pit lane. And what tires will they fit on? It's the hards going on for Ryan. It's the hards going on for... If I can find them here. Everybody's switching around ever so quickly. It is the hards... No, the mediums for Matt's in the Mercedes. So an interesting strategy call there. This virtual safety car has come in. We are racing once more. HK now leading the way, and guess who is back? Kendo. DJ Danny up into 3rd. Started in 13th, up into 3rd, and he's on the hard tires, so he can already outlast the 2 in front of him.
And don't forget, Miles is also there with them. So it's the front 3 in battling it out. HK, Danny and Miles, which are currently in the top 4 in your driver's standings. It's unreal, the fact that we're talking about them potentially struggling to get by without being able to overtake, considering the track is so narrow. However, it's turned out we're completely wrong. There's been plenty overtaken. It's been really good to see.
Well, and what is working out for Miles is he doesn't have to worry about anything behind him. He has his teammate Murphy as a rear gunner that he can use. Plenty of drivers pitting under that virtual safety car. We'll bring up the stops here shortly for you. You can see who all stopped. Ryan, Matz, James Lee, Liverpool, Ewan, Fairfoot, McLaren, and Sir Sharks all had to make their stops earlier in this race. They did not pit under the safety car. Probably help them get a little bit back into contention. As you can see, James F1 is starting to close in once more on those that did not pit as Fairfoot with that clean track, setting a 120.2 in the Haas. But Miles is now, as he cuts the corner ever so slightly, starting to hunt down DJ Danny. This is a battle, Kendo, we've seen plenty of times this season. It looks like we are ready to see another scrap between these two yet again.
And this is what we come to watch, in the fact that championship, I was just about to say Rymax unfortunately just left the session, however he's already crashed out. But like we were saying, it goes to show that they are championship rivals, the one to try and battle it out. As Miles has got DRS, can he get close enough to Danny? I don't think he's going to be able to. He's looking down the inside, he's having a go. Is he going to get the...
Danny trying to switch back. He's not going to have the courtesy of DRS on his side. It looks like Miles is going to have the inside line. Heading into turn 2, they bang wheels. And they're still side by side heading through turn 3. The Alfa Romeo running ever so slightly wide. DJ Danny doing everything he can to hold on to that 3rd position. Great driving between the two. They bang wheels again as they head through now the middle sector. Miles just ever so, I'm sure, temporarily tucking in behind the round, looking to resume this battle somewhere else on the track.
Yeah, unbelievable, that little sequence of events there. And it just goes to show, even if there's a slight little bit of wheel spin from either driver, you can see the respect is there from one another. They are rivals on track, however they are trying to put on a great show for us, and more importantly, good clean driving for Invictus Racing League.
Ryan 97, who started on pole position, pitted under the virtual safety car, is now all over the gearbox of the Williams in front of him. He's going to have DRS on the Polish drivers. Miles resuming that battle at the front. Yet again, it's Miles that has DRS yet again. Can he get the move done? The touch ever so slightly. DJ Danny trying to do everything he can to maintain that inside line, but now Miles has the move done. Alfa Romeo up into the podium positions.
Unreal driving this is from both drivers. I'm going to have a quick little look at the race direct because there was quite a few moments where both drivers were slightly going off track. I can confirm Miles has 2 warnings as it currently stands, so if he picks up one more he does get a penalty. However, DJ Danny has a clean record on his pit as it currently stands. No warnings.
Yellow flag for a Toro Rosso who has touched the curb and just completely spun it around. That's the curb, Kendo, where if you touch it at all, you're
gone.
More, yeah, you are essentially giving yourself a free roller coaster ride. You will be spinning for quite some time. It looks like he's done that there, but now DJ Danny looking to close down Miles yet again and resuming this battle because both of them are on the hard tires. They're on the same strategy. So this one is going to have to be dueled out on track. 29 into the pit lane for Mercedes. Off of the medium tires as he's picked up a 5-second penalty for speeding for his time. And we move into lap 11 of this race. HK leads out front by 4.6 seconds. And Kendo, just as far as the race as a whole, what all have we seen so far here this evening?
Well, at the moment we've got quite a few little tasty battles as we've been watching for most of the time DJ Danny with Miles. However, at the back of the grid you've got from P10 all the way down to P12, which is currently on your screen right now, and just goes to show there's a lot of battles going out on track, and the fact that it's exciting racing to watch.
So here Ricardo doing everything he can to keep the racing point behind. He is all over the Williams himself, as is Matt's in that Mercedes, trying to cling on to the back of the racing point. And now the Williams moving to the inside. Ricardo trying to take that outside line. They didn't touch there, but they're still wheel to wheel as they head through turn 1. And that's going to invite James now into the fold. Can he maybe get 2 positions in 1? He only gets the 1. And they actually do make contact between the Racing Point and the Williams, but it's the Ferrari that comes out ahead. Ricardo up into 9th place, but this battle is nowhere near done yet. This is a host of 4 cars all battling it out for 9th place. And Kendo, for James, this is the worst thing he needs right now, to be stuck in the middle of part of the track that you can't really get past on, as he's going to try to get past there. And what a move from James F1 in a place that we don't typically see moves getting done.
Wow. It just goes to show
that move. How important will that move be in the grand scheme of this race?
Yeah, wow. What a move. Totally unexpected. Going into that position, you would not foresee anything like that happening. But as you rightly said, James F1, he has to push, considering his league rivals are currently out in front. He has to do something, and he has to do it now. And it just goes to show he's getting the job done to the best of his ability at this moment.
Well, something that we haven't really discussed much of, McLaren have their driver up into the podium positions as well. They've only scored 1 point this season, and a whole host of points, a full 12 points from P2 would be a great way to jumpstart their second half of the season. And as you mentioned, Kendo, his James F1's championship rivals currently sitting in 1st, 3rd, and 4th at the moment.
And it just goes to show the fact that, as well as we remember, DXT Malc, we talked about penalties. He has got now a 3-second time penalty. I don't know if DJ Danny's got that information to himself yet, because at the first point of a race, while we're watching, DXT Malc started to push away. But now, looks like DJ Danny is starting to make his way back into the race and starting to catch him up. And as we are currently looking on Matt's screen, it looks like there's a battle resuming for 10, 11 and 12.
You can see there, it looks like part of that wing of the Mercedes rather looks to be slightly dislodged. This actually does look fairly well intact, actually. I'm not too entirely sure, but now you can see, Kendo, the clouds are starting to form.
Yeah, I noticed that going up the hill. That, as you can see on stream, if you look from the driver's point of view, the clouds are starting to turn dark, and the rain's coming. But it's just a matter of, does it come early in the race or does it come late? I'm going to guess a lot of these drivers have got dry setups on, so they will be praying for the rain to stay away. But if the rain does come early, get the popcorn, get yourselves ready. This could turn into a very tasty ending to the end of this race.
Well, James F1 is on the hunt for another position here, as the leaders have started lap 15. James F1 getting all over the back of that Honda-powered Toro Rosso. As you can see now, he's going to have DRS down the main straight. This could be a move done well before it is. Ooh, was that the first speck of rain that we see falling? It is.
Yeah, good spot.
And with 20 laps to go, how on earth might that change the complexity of this race? Those that pitted under the virtual safety car are now going to be kicking themselves for doing so. But James F1 is going to have to try to make the most of it. But those likes of HK, HRC, Miles, and DJ Danny, Murphy, Fairmoto in that mix as well, who didn't pit under the virtual safety car. This could be a blessing for them.
Yeah, it's either going to be a blessing, or, considering that the fact we haven't yet seen the rain starting to become a little bit heavy. However, as we have just seen on your screen, DRS has been deactivated. So that means it is too wet for the
HK into the pit lane. The leaders beginning to pit, and you can just see this James F1 are running extremely wide there. They're just starting to aquaplane off the track. There's no grip in these slick tires. It's Tokyo drifting around the penultimate corner. It's going to have a whole job to do to get this one into the pit lane as the rain just starts to pour, as a whole queue of cars pour into the pit lane. The intermediate tires going on. Who on earth is not going to pit under this, under these conditions? Looks like everybody is going to come in. It doesn't look like we're going to have too many issues with double stacking.
Ooh, interesting. Lee.
And Lee has gone on to the full wets. Leclerc has gone on to full wets. Jamie 29 at the back has gone on to full wets as well. Could that be the strategy call of the race from Mercedes to try to jump everyone in front? And if you remember, Lawrence Stroll in Germany was the first to go on to the softs after things started to dry up. Could Jamie 29 be doing something of the likes? Three in front of him, still having to pit. Sir Sharks now in the pit lane. Fairfu Leclerc in the pit lane as well. PJ has PJ stayed out? No, he's peeled into the pit lane now. He's just a little late into the pit lane, being somewhat far down the field. But the man who enjoys actually wet weather racing, Ricardo in the Ferrari, sitting in 10th place, is already making up time on these intermediate tires on those in front of him. And Kendo, is this a point in the race where we see, now that we have differing strategies out on the track, as the Red Bull and the Williams come together, looks like Lee has that position taken care of, but Kendo, is this the point in the race where we see the drivers' just absolute skill level come into play as well as their strategy decisions?
100%. This goes to show who puts the time and the effort and the practice to be able to drive in these conditions. I don't know if you're seeing this, but Big Lee was doing a little bit of a drift round that final turn, so it goes to show at the moment these wet tyres are currently the wrong tyre of choice, and with watching them for a little while, they're struggling really, and the Inters seem to be cruising. So at this point in time, the wets is certainly not the right tyre to be on.
They're wheel to wheel heading through turn 2. Looks like the Williams is just going to give that place up, and this Lee is in the wall. Lee has been spun into the wall. It's hard to put blame either way. It looked like the Williams was trying to keep his wheel in there, but it also looked like Lee was that a little reset to track action from the Red Bull. Red Bull as a team have been disciplined already last week for their actions. Could we potentially see another punishment headed their way? Because it didn't look extremely natural the way Lee got back out onto the track. But he is missing a whole bunch of his front wing. But Kendo, I think you saw that as well. It looked like both drivers were somewhat at fault there. It looked like Lee tried to close the door when Leclerc was still in there. Leclerc maybe hung around in the vicinity for maybe just a little bit too long, a little bit just past his welcome.
Hey, how I ended up seeing that was the fact that Lee was trying to hold the racing line ever so slightly. However, because of the rain, because of them wet tyres, you can clearly see when we've been watching that battle, the wets are not ready. It's not the right time to go on them. They needed to go on Inters. Lee's having to pit for a wing, and because of that, when we're talking about the actual incident itself, he got a little bit spooked, braked slightly too early, caught out Leclerc, and he's just basically gone in the back of him. He's going on for another wet.
The rain is monsooning down here. I wonder, Kendo, if the decision to go onto the wets could potentially be a smart one here in the next 6 laps or so, because this rain is showing no signs of letting up anytime soon, and it only seems to be getting heavier. I wonder if those pitted onto the intermediate tires maybe made the right strategy call in this scenario, but maybe not in a few laps. And James F1 into the pit lane now, and this could be the crossover period. We're going to stay on board with the Racing Point to see exactly the kind of strategy. Now the Toro Rosso in and the Ferrari in as well. One of those wet weather tires going on to the Racing Point. And now could that give Sir Sharks, bring him back into this race, DXT Lee potentially back into this race as well, because now it seems like everybody in front of them are going to have to make another stop.
Yeah, at the moment, Leclerc is still struggling on them wets, because as you've been watching the front few people trying to drive and going into the pits, changing onto the wet, it doesn't look like Leclerc is having a very good time of it. I don't think it's quite ready for the wet tyre yet. Maybe in a lap or two, because again, Leclerc's drifting around the turn that he's currently at. But yeah, I don't think it's full wets yet. Maybe in a lap or two, you'll see the front runners pit.
Well, Kendo, if it means anything, Murphy on the intermediate tire is in front of James F1. James F1 has just gained about 0.8 of a second on the Alfa Romeo in front of him, just in about a sector and a half. So I'm wondering now, is everyone starting to pile into the pit yet again? Now, could this be an interesting scenario for Alfa
Wow.
Romeo. They look like they have their man well in ahead, and so no extreme double stack is going to be necessary. The Alfa Romeo pit crew look like they are ready once again. It does look like a little bit slow. Murphy has himself a penalty to serve as well, but DJ Danny now within a second of DXT Miles, and that's going to be for the race win, because remember, with 15 laps to go, HK has a 1 position penalty, so even though he has about 15-second lead out front, it won't really mean much of anything, because he's going to be promoted 1 position down anyway. As you can see there, the McLaren of PJ getting lapped by the leaders. And now this just becomes a race of who can keep the car on the track, Kendo, and who is willing to engage with a driver in front of them in a battle. But James F1 down in 7th. He still has plenty of a chance to get back into this race, but he does have our pole sitter, Ryan 97. Oh, Jamie's out of the race.
In the pits.
He's actually pulled into the pit lane and done so. I was wondering if that was another retirement from the Mercedes. It's his 5th retirement of the season. And I don't think words can begin to describe the amount of disappointment that Mercedes has had this season. And just in terms of retirements and just the points production.
Exactly right, considering both and all the Mercedes team to actually pick up points is Jamie's teammate Matt Swings, considering, and that was, if I have a look at the championship standings, was actually in Germany. So it goes to show that we need to have a serious sit down together to try and claw any points back in the last few remaining races of this championship.
Well, you can see those that tried staying out on the intermediate tires just got washed away and washed straight into the pit lane. Liverpool Ewan, looks like Matt Swainus as well, both trying to stay out on the intermediates. It didn't work. They're into the pit lane. As we're watching now, DJ Danny and DXT Miles resume their battle, but under completely different conditions. The clouds have opened up. Mother Nature having her effect on this race. I believe, Kendo, this is the first time we're seeing the full wet tires this season.
Yeah, it actually is. I never even thought about it till you mentioned that, but yeah, you're right, completely the first time the wet tyre is out. We're currently on lap 22 of 25, so we're currently on board with Ryan 97, and from a driver's point of view, it's absolute mayhem when you see them all at full throttle. We can barely see the driver in front, and it goes to show, will they be able to battle strong like we've seen in the dry, or are they going to be waiting to see if the driver in front makes a mistake? That's going to be the question. Can they put pressure on their opponent in front, or do they have to just wait for a mistake to happen?
Well, you can see there, Fairmont peeled to that inside line down the main straight, not only to keep Ryan in the Haas behind him, but to try to find some water to cool these wet tires down. If you stay on the dry line for too long, you'll actually start to overheat. The tread depth is so deep that the tread blocks on them will start to slide and move around, which isn't exactly what you want. You want your tires to be in optimal condition. But now DJ Danny hunting down DXT Miles here yet again. Miles going for his 2nd win of the season. Remember, he won in controversial fashion at Spa for his 1st win of the season. He's trying to make it a 2nd win of the season, but he's going to have quite the job on his hands keeping DJ Danny behind him for the next 13, now 12 laps to go here in Hungary. And we see also Ricardo is starting to move up the field again, and James F1 also is once more on the back of Ryan 97. It's interesting to see. It seems like Kendo James's pace has almost been neutralized by this rain.
And it goes to show, as we talked about driver skill in the wet, how much do they practice in these rain settings? At the moment, it's clear to see the likes of HK, who is now pulling away from Miles as it currently stands. You can see he's quite clearly comfortable. But James, he looks a little bit hesitant, especially when he's coming into these hard braking zones. You can see he's slightly hesitant. You can see Ryan slightly hitting the curb, so he's thinking, is he going to make a mistake? And that's sometimes what you need to do. Just bring the car home in these sorts of conditions, not trying to make yourself make an error. And that's the most important thing at the moment in this stage of a race. Lap 23 out of 35.
Well, we're seeing a scrap for 12th place. Hopefully Ewan and Matt's the two that decided to try to stick it out on the intermediate tires as the heavens opened and it began monsooning here in Budapest, finding themselves in 12th and 13th respectively, battling it out down there. In terms of the championship, Kendo, could this be a race that just completely separates those at the front from those kind of in the middle? And we see a little bit of contact from Ricardo and the Toro Rosso in front of him. He's going to look to potentially go for a move again. They bang wheels again. No quarter being given for 9th place. You can see the Ferrari now with so much more grip, so much more drive. Out of the penultimate corner, has the move done up into 9th place for the Ferrari. His teammate down into 17th, who spun, I believe it was on lap 2 of this race, finding himself well relegated down the pecking order. But going back to what I was saying before, is this the potential point where those at the front, the top 4, top 5, begin to trampoline themselves and separate from the rest of the pack? Because James F1 is down in 7th. He's not going to hold on to the championship lead from down there.
No. Answer the first question, the top 4, I do believe the gap is already starting to appear. It's just going to reaffirm that, yes, the top 4 are starting to pull away. Unfortunately, as we all know, Scotchix is not here tonight, and that's going to drop him out of that championship contender, because he was very close behind HK. However, with him not being there, he's lost out on a lot of points, and a lot of the advantage now is on the top 4 with James F1, DJ Danny, Miles and HK. 3 of them are in your top 3, with James F1 down in 7. So currently advantage Miles.
We have 10 laps to go here. Looks like Ryan was trying for a move down the inside. He got the Williams to commit, but how will he be able to make the drive stick out of turn 1? It doesn't look like well enough. He's going to tuck in behind the Williams for yet another corner. But for how long will that last? Because not only is he getting held up by Williams, who's running in the top 5. We talked about him qualifying, having a great season so far. I don't think many expected him to really do much of anything. He's up here driving in 5th. He's got a few points for Williams as well. We've seen him in the top 10 plenty of times this season, challenging the likes of Murphy, Ricardo, Maniac as well, really getting himself involved in the midfield battle.
Exactly that, considering if we have a quick look, Fairmoto is currently in P12 in the drive standards, 4 points. He's going to get potentially a couple of decent points here as it currently stands in P5. So from the position that he is in the driver's standings, potentially moving them up to the top half of the middle of the pack, trying to kind of see it to the rest of the guys. Look, I'm here, I'm ready to battle, bring it on.
Rain 97 might try to have a little look at Fairmoto now. It just doesn't have the same straight lines as the car in front of him. And he's actually seems to have lost a little bit of time, but there's
Wide.
Ferramoto running wide. That will open the door now for Ryan to go past him. He holds the outside line of the corner. How late will Ferramoto be able to brake? He brakes pretty late. And now around the outside, Ryan squeezing him to that line, and now getting squeezed himself to the inside line. They're still wheeled. Oh, they're off! Ryan is spun into the wall. He's lost the back end. He's also lost his front wheel. Ryan and the safety car is out. The full safety car has been deployed. Well. Another late safety car. How could this change the dynamic of this race here with just 9 laps to go? We're not going to have many racing laps. Not going to have many racing laps to go.
No, and just as I've just noticed there, HK has pitted for fresh tyres by the looks of things. Feels as though he's got the space to do it. Can he get out in front of Miles? That's the question. Can he do it? Looks
Miles and Danny are just coming around the final corner right now. He's going to come out well ahead of the Alfa Romeo, but DJ Danny into the pit lane as well. So Miles is really going to have a job on his hands, because not only is he going to have DJ on fresh tires, but he's also going to have on fresh tires as well. He didn't gain a position. He didn't lose a position either. He's going to hold on to third. No, he's not. HRC is going to get past. So DJ Danny is going to actually have a little bit of a task on his hands as well, and Miles is probably thankful for HRC at the moment, because he's going to probably hope that the McLaren is almost going to act as a rear blocker.
Yeah, it's absolutely mental at this stage of a race. Do people think quickly on their feet? As we've seen, HK fought very quickly on his feet immediately to the pit. You can start to see a few other drivers starting to make the same call as what HK did. However, Miles, HR, slap old tyres. Can their tyres last to the end? That's going to be the main question to ask. More than likely they can, but as you rightly said, when you're on that racing line, they have to make sure that they're keeping their tyres cool, and that's going to be the telling point when the crossover starts to occur, with the tyres being good on the dry, in a sense that dry line, going onto the wet. So can they keep together? We'll only find out in the next couple of laps. Lap 27 out of 35.
Well, the rain doesn't look like stopping anytime soon. So those that just did pit for fresh, wet tires look like they are in good shape to go to the end. You just wonder, Kendo, those that stayed out, Miles, HRC, Ferramoto as well, and Leclerc, who's on 11 lap old wet tires. How on earth are those going to be drivable at the end of this race? They're going to have to do potentially 15 laps on them. Leclerc, potentially 18 laps on them to get to the end of this race.
It's going to be a major struggle, especially 11 lap old. However, as we've talked about before, track position, being able to take that gamble, which is clear what Leclerc is trying to do. He's gambled to go into the pit early, get them wet tyres on. It is a risk, but sometimes you have to have a big risk to get a major reward, and that's currently what he's gambling on at the moment. He's currently in P8. Let's see what happens once the safety car comes in, how he can respond on them tyres. You've got Liverpool Ewan also on fairly worn tyres. You've got Ferramoto also on worn tyres. HRC and Miles. You've also got Lee down at the back of the grid, Fairfu and AJ. So it's benchmark. It's going to be interesting to see. I think they'll struggle at the end. That's my gut instinct that I'm thinking of right now, especially Leclerc. He's going to drop down the field. However, it'll be a sterling drive if he can manage to keep a hold of them tyres to the end.
That is also going to be a little bit of a saving grace for Sir Sharks, Leclerc, and PJ as well. All three spinning in the first few laps. Complete lap 28 around the safety car as we start lap 29. As well, who had that wing damage earlier, just a few laps ago, is also going to be able to pull himself back into the race. We saw Sir Sharks almost 30 seconds adrift of the rest of the field at one point. Now he is right back in contention. We've seen him pull off a few crazy moves, as well as has his teammate James F1 up in 6th. Do you think Sir Sharks could potentially be on for a few points here today?
Could well be, but if you look on the radar, as it currently stands, he's just coming into turn 1 now, and the rest of the pack is coming round, if I'm not mistaken, turn 7. So the safety car usually takes about 3 laps to go around if the rest of the field has not got close enough. So we'll find out at the end of sector 2 if the safety car comes in. My guess, it is going to be coming in as CJ Murphy has just collided with Leclerc, just as we've been just talking about the likes of Sir Sharks and all that lot. So in the middle of the pack there, Murphy looks like he's potentially got wing damage.
And he's got wing damage as well. He does.
Matt's also exceeded limits as well, 10 seconds.
And this is where the safety car is in this lap. This is where the safety car update is not helping really anyone. It was justifiably a safety car as HK is going to do everything he can. You can see them going 3 wide down that straight, try to maintain their track position. HK
Sir
going
Sharks is caught up.
Quite slow. Just trying to let that safety car go in. He hasn't gone yet. He hasn't shown any indication of going so far, and now it looks like he is gone, and that is a great launch from the Red Bull. First place may not be his, but he is certainly putting on a show here in the wet weather here in Hungary. You see Ricardo already getting past Mats, who has stayed out on those tires, and DJ Danny now, his HRC looks like he ran ever so slightly wide. DJ Danny up in 2nd place. Miles behind him. It is right behind him there, nose to tail. As things stand, Sir Sharks up in the 4th position. Maniac gaining 1 position as well. And now James F1, look at this, is now putting McLaren under pressure as well. So the man who qualified in 8th found himself down to 15th at one point, is now looking to get right next to his championship rivals and put as much pressure on them as he possibly can. And for HRC, he is doing everything possible to hang on to as many points for a McLaren team that has had a dreadful start in the first half of the season. And I mean, if he does finish in the top 5, it's bravo to him, because McLaren have just had absolutely dreadful luck so far. It looks like we've had PJ as a spinner as well. There's a Ferrari behind him. I wonder if that is Leclerc. Is now Murphy and HRC jumping James F1. Now it looks like Miles has had an issue. Miles has come off, and because he's come off, he's fallen all the way down to 7th place. So James F1 up into 4th. DJ Danny 2.5 behind HRC, and now can James F1 put the kind of moves on HRC that we saw him put on Ricardo? Not this time around. He's gonna have another straight to do it.
Miles is gone.
And Miles has trying to find him. Miles has spun. He's was out in turn 1, and Miles has retired from the session. That's going to be investigated as well, because he's retired on track. No safety car as a result of it, just simply a yellow flag as his car peels away. But with 4 laps to go, DJ Danny is currently on course to win this race. but James F1 is going to be breathing down the neck of HRC here momentarily. In that McLaren, you can see him all over that Renault gearbox in that McLaren. I'm guessing, Kendo, how many laps do you think it'll be until we see another insane over move done by the Racing Point?
I don't suppose it's going to be very, very long, because currently, as it stands, the top 4 currently do not have any time penalties as it currently stands. So it looks like it's all out on track at the moment. Anything could happen though. There's still, as you can see, lap 32 of 35 is James F1, as you've just been saying, he's trying to put pressure on HRC. Can he get that McLaren to make a mistake?
Oh, and there's a Toro Rosso off into the wall. He's lost a bit of his wings, but he's actually done extremely well to keep it on track. It's Liverpool Ewan who just got loose out of the first corner and found himself facing the wall and not the rest of the track. But I also now have confirmation, Kendo. HK has picked up a 5-second penalty for readying up on the grid before it was time. And so, as things stand, he'll get put down 1 position, and he would finish essentially
P3.
in 3rd.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one to think, and as we talked about being able to be consistent, obviously, as James F1, he gets a little bit deep. I thought he was going to go into the back of HRC. But currently we are on board with Ricardo. He's trying to make a move on Liverpool, as we've just seen there. However, just as we start talking about that sort of battle, it's getting very tasty. There's 2 really close battles going out on track here, and it's just which one to watch.
For you, he's going to do everything he can to keep that prancing horse behind him, but he's gaining. Ricardo pulling to the outside. They're going wheel to wheel through turn 1, but another great defensive drive from Liverpool Ewan. He's maintaining that 6th place. We saw his defensive capabilities already earlier in this race, and he's done a great job here to keep the Ferrari behind him and to keep 6th place. James F1 has reclosed that gap. It was 0.3 of a second there momentarily. Looks like now Ricardo has gotten past Liverpool Ewan, who collected that wing damage, who it's probably hasn't helped his case for any sort of top 5 finish today, or top 6. He sees himself down into 7th currently. But if I'm not mistaken, this would be the Ferrari's highest finish this season. Let's jump back on board with James F1. He's now 5/10 adrift from the McLaren in front of him. How long can that McLaren cling on to 3rd place? He's actually going to be in 3rd place as it stands, because HK is pulled out now 8.5 seconds on that 3rd place driver. So James F1 is going to have a pass and a little bit of catching to do if he wants to get onto the podium here today. It doesn't really look like that is on the cards.
No, it certainly doesn't. Like you were talking about, it just at the moment, James F1 is just praying that HRC makes a mistake or gets a penalty, because as you know, the drivers don't always get intel. If, for example, there was a drive-through penalty that somebody had to serve, or a stop and go, Jeff doesn't normally tell them. So at the moment, James F1 will be hoping, as we can see, HRC gets a little bit loose in that chicane. So James F1 was a little bit twitchy there, thinking, was he going to be spinning? However, it's getting a little bit tasty here. HRC
has done double the laps that James F1 has done on these wet weather tires. We're riding on board with him now. You just see how much less grip that the McLaren has hugging that inside line. He actually runs ever so slightly deep, but doesn't open up enough of a gap. It's James F1 trying to get onto that curve and keep a tire on the track. Just losing the car there. Trying to see a little bit of opposite steering going into this Racing Point. It's great driving here from both the McLaren and the Racing Point. As things stand, it is HK out front who is leading the way here. Maybe on track, but not in the final standings. It'll be DJ Danny. If everything stays as they are, we don't have any last-minute incidents like we did in Germany. It'll be DJ Danny standing on top of the podium. At the moment, it looks like James is all over the back of that McLaren. Can he get a move done? It doesn't look like he's going to do it this time. He's going to just stick his nose right in there, potentially on the final corner, and just try to force that McLaren out wide, force him into an error, which he hasn't been able to do yet. It's been great driving from HRC to keep the championship leader behind him. As things stand, HK is about to come around the penultimate corner. We'll keep an eye on that battle back there with HK, who has a 5-second penalty and a 1 position penalty. That 5-second isn't really going to matter because HK is going to come across the line in first place, which means DJ Danny going to retake the championship lead. He wins here in Hungary. HRC, has he managed to fend off the Racing Point? Yes, he has. Finishes on the podium for McLaren, and it's a 4th place finish for James F1. Fairmoto finishing behind him. Ricardo up into 6th place. The 2 Toro Rossos 7th and 8th. Lee down in 9th place. Sharks getting another point for Racing Point in 10th. Murphy in 11th. McKirk in 12th. Leclerc in 13th. Fairfu in 14th. And Mats, who is still making his way around the track, 15th position for the Mercedes. Unfortunately, we lost Miles, PJ, Ryan, Jamie 29, and Rimac in the process. See you there. Matt's just putting that one into the wall. Not one that he's going to want to remember. But in terms of the championship, definitely, well, it's getting tight at the front now.
It most certainly is, and bear in mind, like you were saying, HK had that 5 seconds, so with that time penalty, he drops down to P2, and then with the 1 place place penalty, that puts him down to 3rd. So he's losing ground to DJ Danny in this championship, and it goes to show penalties, keeping it cool, under pressure, that's what wins your championships.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how those penalties are applied, because if you apply the 1 position one first, then he stays in 2nd position. But if you apply the 5-second first, he will, as you mentioned, head down to 3rd. But if you could get Danny and HRC in here to have a little chat.
I've invited them all in.
To talk to HRC, who's had himself a great race for McLaren, and can hopefully be the spark plug for a little McLaren renaissance here in the last little bit of the season. Do we have them in here yet?
We have HRC currently. I'll re-invite DJ Danny. If I'm not mistaken, HK has microphone issues to get into these chats. I know he's been working on trying to resolve this. But up to now, we'll find confirmation on that shortly. But at the moment, we do have DJ Danny and HRC in the commentary booth. So, Skirita, I'll let you take it away.
Well, Danny, even though you crossed the line 2nd, it's a win in the books, and another one to see you back on top of the championship that you surrendered by a point for 1 race. Is this potential race where you can say, right, this is where we really start to pull away from the rest of the field?
Yeah, I mean, after qualifying, I didn't expect to be so high up. I was expecting, obviously, getting to the point.
Danny, if I may?
13th.
I gotcha. Nice.
So, yeah, qualifying was horrible. My medium lap was just terrible. I only improved by like a tenth. So yeah, it meant I could go on the hards and go long on till the point of rain. But yeah, I expected to be, I don't know, P5, something like that. But then when I obviously everyone else boxed under the VSC, which meant I was in third place, and then under the wet conditions, I just managed to hold on. Although I did have a bit of good fortune with at the safety car restart, which allowed me to get into P2, and then obviously take the position away from HK with his 1 place penalty.
Well, it was a great drive all around, but is it potentially a matter of, just the sheer ability of the drivers in the wet? I mean, how hard is it not only to drive slick tires in the rain, intermediate tires, and then have to go onto wets? I mean, how much of a different mindset do you have to have for each different compound?
Slicks in the, obviously me and Miles were on one hards, and it rained and it literally went straight to intermediate weather probably in half a lap, and me and Miles for the last sector were basically just going off the track everywhere. So you basically on your tippy toes just feathering the throttle, and it's the same with the intermediates and wets really. You just got to make sure that you keep it in a straight line really. You just have to manage your throttle and just make sure that you're not pushing too hard, but it's quite difficult obviously to keep pace and then not make a mistake, because once you go round, you're round and probably going into a wall in the wet. So it's very difficult and you have to concentrate. So HK did a brilliant job in doing that all race. He pretty much dominated it in all weather. I tried to catch him after the safety car, but he was just a little bit too quick for me.
Well, that win sees you back atop the championship. Let's go over to HRC. First podium for McLaren, and it hasn't really been the greatest season so far for McLaren. Is this the point where you guys can really interject yourselves back into that midfield battle?
I hope so. I think PJ is quite new as well. I've obviously joined halfway through the season for McLaren, so get as many points as we can before it finishes. I wasn't feeling great, I'll be honest, today. I nearly didn't race. I messaged Fairmotor and said if you got a reserve, get him in, but a bit late notice. But had an alright quali. I spun on the in-lap before the intermediates on the Raymond DRS got disabled, and I think I let 3 people pass. I was so angry I did that, but luckily with the safety car and the positions cleaned up, managed to get on the podium. So yeah, good race all round.
Well, I mean, you qualified down in 6th. Did you expect yourself to be on the podium? Did you think you had the pace around here? Or,
well, in my mind, I knew
did
I
it come
was
as a bit of a shock?
provisionally P4, because I think anyone who tries to do the soft strap, you're better off doing mediums anyway. So I knew I was in a better position on the off straight away. So I think Danny and HK just had a bit too much pace. I've never, I think, ever done a league race on Hungary in the wet, so I had a pretty dry setup, even though I knew there was a bit of rain at the end. So just happy to get what I've got.
Well, is it a matter as well of are you going to be racing for yourself, or is this going to be a thing where you're just going to be trying to get McLaren as high up the table as possible? Because now I think you've jumped 2 or 3 teams in the process with this podium.
Bro, we all need to speak to PJ, give him some motivation. But, I don't know where he finished actually. Does anyone know?
I believe he finished Oh,
It's quite early to try and
he finished
do a gamble.
17th.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully
He did not
just
finish the
do
race.
as well as I can and actually score as many points as I can for McLaren and push for as many points as I can.
Alrighty. Well, fellas, well done on the race. Danny, another win for yourself. So congratulations to you. But we head to Monza next week, Temple of Speed. Don't be afraid to join us for that right here. Same time, same place. And for everybody, is HK in the party now?
He is, yeah.
HK is in the party now. HK, how
Yeah.
are you?
HK,
I think he's on his phone for the record.
he is in the party.
Right. I don't think we're
Aw.
going to be able to get HK in on this one. He seems to be having a few technical difficulties. But like I was saying, join us next Sunday where we head to Monza. Plenty of speed to go around there. Same time, same place. And for everyone, we will see you